Okay, we got some live mic. Just 2 minutes ago, I didn't have it. Well, I'm back on here. It is Thursday, December the 26th, 2024. It's the last year or the last week for Clear Blue Radiance, and then I'll be on next Thursday, which I think will be January the 2nd, 2025. What I want to be able to do today is do this show. There's Holly. Nice to see you here. This show is really based on an incident that happened today while I was in an Uber vehicle coming home, um, but also is connected to one of the late great metaphysical minds, um, Reverend Frederick Aikenrokoda, better known as Reverend Ike. And so this discussion on an incident that happened that an Uber driver and myself experienced at the same time this morning out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So before we get started with that, what I want to say is that, greetings, glad to see that you're here. Many of you know I've been a spiritual counselor for 40 plus years, and I enjoy helping people such as yourself gain greater clarity and help you also discover your purpose or redefine your purpose. And I'm doing this. This is probably podcast number 190 or 191 for Resident Essentials YouTube channel, which is for Resident Essentials Esoteric School of Metaphysics out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So, what happened was I was on my way to pick up a gift. It was a Christmas gift that someone sent to another location for me. I thought it was a huge box. It was a tiny box, so they could have sent it here, but it's okay. Um, I was waiting at this location where I pick up my mail, especially boxes that I don't want to have disappear here at my apartments. So I was about 2 minutes left before the driver was coming. And on the map, you could see the direction he was coming from, which was cool. So actually, he was traveling south. So he could be right where I could see him, and he could literally see me. Well, anyway, as I was standing on the sidewalk in front of the location, this woman got out of this car, huffy puffy. She was like very angry. And I imagine she was having maybe an argument with her husband. I can't say for sure, but he didn't look visibly happy himself. And she rushed past me to go in the store with a package. And of course, she was at the wrong location. And that happens to a lot of people. Sometimes they go to a UPS store and find out they're not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be at a United States Postal Service office, location. And so this lady was on a tyrant at that moment. She's yelling and screaming. I could literally hear her through the glass door and window because I'm outside waiting for the driver to come. And as the driver, appears, now she didn't realize that when she came out, I was heading right toward that car that the Uber driver was in. Very nice guy. And I get in the car, introduce myself. He's make sure the picture matches my picture. My picture of my phone matched his phone. And of course, he's down, looking, to pull off. And the woman's husband starts to back up. Now, guy had honked the horn, and I wasn't even in the car secured myself. He was about 2 feet from hitting the Uber driver's car, backing up. So the woman flings the passenger side open, and she's yelling and screaming, like, with her ranting and raving and saying, "You people are so rude. Why are you parked there?" Now, her husband was, yes, parked in the slot facing the store. She passed me, 'cause I'm standing right there. She comes out the door and she sees me go toward the vehicle. The Uber driver is only about 6 7 steps to get in. I hadn't closed the door by that time. The husband is backing up. She didn't even secure her door on the passenger side. Of course, she's yelling and screaming at us. Really, more at the driver. And I'm saying, hey, he was already here. The car hadn't been cranked up yet, and there's really no place for him to go anyway. But stay right there and wait for me to get in. Only takes a couple of seconds for that, and then for him, my driver, to pull off. And of course, she's ranting and raving in the vehicle and just rocking. I mean, physically, she's that upset. So it occurred to me that the driver and I were having a conversation how people become very tensed when they go through situations, and it's human nature. But this was like what we were witnessing toward us was over dramatic. It was, I mean, she was trying to get everybody's attention with how she was talking. There were other people in that parking lot, and they're raising their hands like, "Hey, where is the guy going to go?" Anyway, she sees me getting into the vehicle. So to make a long story short and kind of veer off from that, today's topic is based on that. People want happiness. They say they want happiness, and often they don't know how to go about getting that happiness. It was an opportunity for the driver to talk about his experiences that he gets on the road all the time, how antsy people are, how he's had drivers behind him honking a horn like a maniac, can't wait for him to make a right turn at a light, even though they can see all this traffic going across in front of him and them as well. And he wants to make sure, of course, he's a driver, he's safe, whether he has a passenger in the vehicle or not. He asked me where was I from because I didn't sound like I was from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey there, Kathy. It didn't sound like I was from here. And I said, I'm not. I'm originally born in Long Island, New York. He said, dang, it rang a bell because he had relatives that lived in one of the five boroughs in New York City. Two of them are on Long Island, Brooklyn and Nassau County. I'm from Nassau County, but Brooklyn and Queens. And I was talking how, you know, people here in the city of Albuquerque, here throughout the state of New Mexico, they think the traffic is stiff. You know, they don't know traffic until you go to someplace like New York City or Los Angeles. You could be sitting on one of the freeways for an hour, not going anywhere. You could be sitting on a expressway from one end of Long Island, taking you in through the city to get to Manhattan, and you could be sitting in that traffic for an hour and a half. And your vehicle is just rail very, 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 very slowly inching, literally. I've had situations where a group of us were on our way to catch a martial arts movie, a Japanese martial arts movie. And the person offered to give a ride, a friend of a friend, to drop myself off and some other people. And here we were, stuck in traffic. Now, the reason why we were stuck in traffic because it was a Saturday. We chose to leave early, but we forgot that there was a home baseball game between the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. So that area that we had to drive through literally would become bumper to bumper in itself. On the road, the parkway that we were taking to get there, there's this part where you see a group of stores. And the people in the car would say, I feel like I want some donuts. So I volunteered. He said, how you gonna get the donuts? I said, we're in the right hand lane. All I gotta do is put on your blinkers and I'm gonna jump out. And I said, I see where I have to go down the median and up. And I said, I'll meet you at the other end because it's going to take you a while to get there. Well, it was quite funny because it didn't take me any more than 10 minutes. When I came out, he hadn't gone that far, literally, maybe one car length. So I basically, now you're not supposed to do this, but I went right up the exit that that would take me to him. And I looked around, I didn't see a policeman, so I jumped in the vehicle. Another 30 minutes, then we started moving. That's how stiff it is when you're traveling on an expressway from Long Island, New York, to get into New York City up into one of the boroughs to a baseball game. But I say that because people become antsy, people are stressed out, and we know today people are highly stressed out from a variety of things that have been in the news and off the news, locally and nationally. So, with so much tension going on, you've got to find a way to release that tension, but release it in a way that is not harmful to yourself physically, emotionally, or even mentally. And there's ways in which you can recreate a situation or produce some energy within yourself, within your environment. So, what I wanted people, this guy, the driver, he used a very strong word that we all are familiar with in the metaphysical field and spiritual field. He said that lady, she doesn't realize that she's that angry that in that moment that she's channeling more of the same to show up in her space and in her body. And I thought that was very interesting to say that. In fact, his name was Jin. He was a fellow that was part Chinese, and he said he lived in, Malaysia, Tibet, and originally he was born in China, but he wound up living in Indonesia. So the name Jin, I didn't get a chance to ask him what the name meant, but I thought it sound would be like a guardian's name to me or spirit guardian. Well, anyway, he was a very nice fellow. We had a very nice, warm conversation, creating happiness for each other, for ourselves, which then made a blossoming effect in his vehicle. And we just laughed because we were stuck in a little bit of traffic anyway, so we just laughed all the way back to my residence. Well, as I say that, other people cannot make you happy or bring you happiness. We all desire to be happy and eventually learn that we have to create happiness for ourselves. So, this is something that is necessary for our well being is to be able to create happiness for ourselves. And sometimes it is very difficult to do that, to be able to create some level of happiness for ourselves. And we have to find a way to see that happen. And how could we do that? How can we see ourselves do such? Happiness is something that can be fleeting at times. Happiness is something that can be fleeting at times. So I'm going to try to record this on Instagram Live, at least a part of it. And what people have to realize is that what a person is going through. Now, we both had to admit that we had no idea what that woman was going through. Something else transpired, maybe the night before, maybe 20, 30 minutes before they got to that location where I was at and where the driver had to pick me up from. So we also put that into the conversation. She could have been coming out of a situation, getting in the car, coming there where she had bad news. She was returning a package, but she might have experienced or heard something that was very, very traumatic that got her blood pressure, her anger up that much. where she was not in a happy mood. And of course, things like this do happen, that sometimes people will go through things and find greater difficulty happening for themselves. So often we have to kind of put ourselves in check a little bit, right? Because we don't know what's actually happening, what's actually going on in a person's life when you see them stressed to that level. I mean, this woman's skin was flushed out. She her eyes were almost getting to that point of being like bulging, really wide eyed. She was very nervous. I felt that when she got out of the vehicle to go into the store that I just came out of. And I could literally feel it. And I had to put my energy, my light energy up very strong so her energy wasn't slapping me. And many times you have to do that. People say, well, I can wear a crystal or gemstone that does that. The gemstone has a little bit of energy power, but because you have a connection to energy, period, you could then boost the energy of the crystal to magnify itself, its aura to magnify itself for you, so that you feel more comfortable within your space, within your zone. Like I say, a lot of people are walking around with a great deal of tension. And this is not only from just this year, this tension has been building up for a very long time. I would say since about 2018, people's tension has been really blowing the roof off their head, headaches, stress headaches, migraine headaches, aches and pains, stiffness in the joints, arthritis. I like to say arthritis. It's arthritis comes up in your joints and your hands and your hips. You feel great stiffness. Why? Because there's no energy moving through your body, moving through your ligaments, in your joints, and everything. Not even moving through your blood stream properly. Energy is around us for us to utilize, and sometimes we are finding ourselves having a difficult time getting that energy. Yes, emotional intelligence. And the smartest people have emotional intelligence because you have to be able to sense or feel what's going around without actually seeing it come into manifestation. And so, in looking at my notes and things, many of you may have gotten the notes first. But what was interesting, let me clear my throat. What was interesting is that happiness begins with awareness. Knowing happiness can be achieved once you are aware of how it can come a part of you or where is it coming from. You must decide it. You must decide within yourself, today I'm going to be happy. So what you want to do is you don't want to like go throughout the day and then say, I need to be happy. You want to do it when you first get up in the morning. Make a decision. I'm going to be happy. Before I go a little further, I want to thank people that are joining me on this YouTube channel for Resonant Essentials, um, Esoteric School of Metaphysics here on their YouTube channel. Thanks, Holly Hemmett, Kathy Pacheco, and Barbara Ewing for coming. I know that there's Corey Searles that's in here somewhere. There's a person by the name of Indigo Moon. I know she's in here. Perhaps Melanie is here. Linda Garcia is in here. Uh, um, Golden Timeline, I think it's called 711 or 777 is here. So there are many people tuning into this, and At the same time, I'm broadcasting live, but have my phone on me, and I see that there is Magis Stokes, Maggie Stokes, 83. Let me acknowledge you. We also have Deborah, Deborah point 564. Let me acknowledge you that I know that you're there. I'm Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I am the podcast host and creator for Clear Blue Radiance, and I do this every Thursday, 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm usually here every Thursday. Now, I wasn't going to do it, but I said, hey, it's the end of the year, and most people that are here would want me to be able to say something or give a teaching or a lesson. We will do, yeah, there's Indigo Moon. We'll do a little bit of meditation to close this out, to kind of lock this in. Um, so, in order to have the experience known as happiness, we have to make a decision that we're going to be happy. And sometimes when you make this decision to be happy, you are also saying to the world, I'm not going to let something external cause me not to experience happiness or not to receive happiness or not to create happiness. And often, in order to have the experience, sometimes you have to create images and words that will somehow describe the experience of being happy. You must create through your intentions. So you have a thought process about it, or you might see an image of yourself being very ecstatic and very happy. And that's like an intention. You have to focus on it willfully with your awareness in your mind and your remembrance and words themselves, and then the feeling. The great late metaphysical mind practitioners Neville Goddard, back in the 1930s, and then in the 50s and the 60s came Frederick Eichenricotta, better known as Reverend Ike, who taught all up and down the East Coast, but mainly New York City and Boston. And they said the same thing. Reverend Ike would always say to his many students worldwide, your success is an inside job. That was his way of putting in street language. Your success is an inside job. So, what are you doing inside yourself so that you can create not just the idea of happiness? What tool, what energy source are you using to see that come into place? I want to acknowledge a few more people here. Jovita, how are you? So, one of the things that happens here is this. Neville Goddard said it, many practitioners state it. Even the late Bob Proctor has said it. Even those who are alive today have said it, like Dr. Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith says it out there in Los Angeles, California, Culver City, Los Angeles, with his Agape University Spiritual Center. You've got to connect your feeling to the image, connect your feeling to the thought. Reverend Ike used to say, let the feeling get the blessing. And he's right about that. How you feel actually determines how you're going to get a blessing or get a result. So, what he would mean by that is if you feel like you're not going to get something, the thing that you want, you will not get because your feeling is stronger than your thinking process. That's why I wrote that book back there called Radiant Heart on this side, Radiant Heart. Why? Because it's your heart magnifies far greater energy than your brain does. We think the brain does, but it's actually the heart that is doing that. And so we have to begin to pay attention. So I have one of Reverend Ike's main book. This is his first and last book, and I'll show it to everybody here on Instagram page right now since I'm broadcasting live. And the book is called Reverend Ike's Secrets for Health, Joy, and Prosperity for You. Now, this book is set up so that there are 52 chapters in this book. And they were set up that way, but since he was a reverend, he would every Sunday start with chapter one for the first Sunday of the year. And when you got to the end of December of that year, you would be at the 52nd week. And so, one of the things here he would tell you is that you need to make up your mind. He would also tell you not to confuse yourself with people who don't want you to be happy. He says here, find your own happiness. Part of being right with yourself and loving yourself correctly is being happy with yourself. Don't be happy for somebody else. Don't wait for someone else to give you a treat where you're going to be happy. He's saying create this vibration for yourself. He says you're only going to find happiness. He said you're only going to find the happiness in other people that you, first of all, have found within your own being. So now I just said other people can't create it for you. But what he is saying here is if those other people, meaning your life's experience with those other people, was all about happiness, then hey, it's okay because you can draw on that energy inside yourself. Now, he says if you're not happy with yourself, you're not going to be happy with anybody else. And that's what was going on today when I went to pick up this Christmas package someone sent me at a UPS store. And I was standing outside and I could see on the map for my Uber that the driver was traveling south. He was coming from a north area, traveling south. He's getting to me in about 2 minutes. The woman gets out of a car. I could see visibly that she was having some kind of upsetting day in the morning, like that. And her husband wasn't feeling too great. And then she gets out and they go inside. And now she kind of say, I'm not going to use the word curse. I will say that she kind of blessed everybody, all the employees in there, because then the manager had to step forward from the back and say, hey, you're at the UPS store. This package belongs to the United States Postal Service. That's where you received it. And you need to go there and talk about how the box got to you damaged, right? And so she wasn't hearing it. Then she comes out and she sees me, gets into the Uber car. Then she's yelling and screaming at her husband. Then he backs up without thinking where the Uber driver was in relationship to his car. And now she's on another tangent. So we realized, okay, her anger was building up and came from someplace else, her unhappiness. But his happiness was already on the inside of him. He was already greatly happy. And so was I. Because I wasn't going to allow something external to change how I wanted to feel for the rest of the day. And so Reverend Ike says here, and you know, it's a wonderful thing to find someone and to fall in love. That's what he's saying in this chapter. He said, but don't think that it's someone else's responsibility to make you happy. So that kind of fits the couple. The husband and the wife probably have some very intense argument about something. She arrives with anger. Everybody else had happiness. So he says, don't give somebody else the responsibility for your happiness. And don't blame anyone else for your misery either. Oh, no, I'm talking to all of you who are already married to. Now, he would say that to kind of uplift the person's spirit. So he said, good, get a good start on life, you know. Allow yourself to be happy. Be in love with yourself first. That would be one of his affirmations. Be in love with yourself first. Here's something else he was saying, if I could find the right chapter. he would say you can have an opportunity where you could push yourself in the right direction. And the way you would do that is get rid of old habits that don't serve you. If you can get rid of old habits that no longer serve you, you stand a 90% opportunity or chance of attracting positive opportunities and positive situations into your life. He says the setting that you are in has to be positive, it has to feel right. One of my members here on my YouTube channel just said it. Barbara Ewing just said, this is where emotional intelligence comes into play. So you want to have emotional intelligence. It's been proven through psychologists and other people that a person with high emotional intelligence is a person that can feel what's going on around themselves. I once read something where a person said, hey, people that are who curse freely almost without thinking about what they're saying, but it's a part of their awareness of being present in the moment. The person who wrote this article was saying that that's an intelligent person because they can see right through other people's shenanigans, if something is right or wrong, if someone is saying something that's correct or not, that's painful or not. Well, think of like a dog. Dog can't speak to you. Dog sees images, right? Dog can see an image around you and will respond to the image around you. The dog can smell the scent, your sweat off your body. The dog can tell if you're calm or hyper. The dog can tell if you're a good person or not a good person. Why? Because it'll start to growl, it'll start to back up, and then its ears change positions. They know something's wrong. We are very much like animals, right? We're walking on 2 feet, they're walking on four, most of them. Others are flying, got wings. But here's the bottom line, you have to create something for yourself. You have to get into the habit of creating. If you are not creating for yourself, then you are not allowing yourself to achieve. So I didn't find the specific chapter because I didn't highlight it right now. But what Reverend Ike was saying throughout that book is first, make a decision about what you want. Know what it is that you want to do. Once you get that established, that in your mind, you made up your mind, you want to be happy. Now you're going to think of the different ways that you have to get to that point to be happy. Some people say, okay, I'm going to wear some brand new clothes. Some people say, I'm going to wear some bright colors to create happiness. Someone says, I'm going to do exercise, a lot of exercise, so I can, slim and trim my body so I can be happy. Someone says, I'm going to do qigong, tai chi, and yoga, and some form of martial arts, some type of physical activity that I enjoy doing, that I get excited about. Children do it. Children want a specific gift, right? And the gift that they want might be a brand new bike. So they might go to a place where they can see that bike every day and they start salivating over that bike. I remember when I wanted a brand new electric guitar, I would go to the music store and I would go inside and I find out people were taking the guitars off the rack and get a plug and plugging them into an amplifier and playing on them. I said, well, that's pretty cool. Why? Because they're getting the feeling of the instrument, the feeling of the sound that the guitar can make through the amplifier. Now, when they go home, they have the image of the guitar in their mind, the image of them holding the guitar in their mind, the image of them strumming the guitar, using the amplifier, and enjoying the sound. Now they have that to go with. And sooner or later, over time, will manifest uh, people who will bring that instrument into their life. I used to see my parents smiling, telling me, good grades, good grades. Here's a guitar. Now, I had no idea back then that that's a metaphysical mind treatment. I didn't have an idea that that's what I was doing because I was just 16 years of age. Now, my parents were into these things. You know, my dad was a Mason, but he's under oath. He can't tell me nothing. My mom's a Rosicrucian. She's not under oath. She's studying Astara teachings, so she's hinting at it. But I didn't know that I could envision and take the vision and take the experience of me holding a guitar, an electric guitar, and I mean an expensive electric guitar, then let alone going to manifest it. Because I'm figuring I don't have a job. I'm 14, 15, 16 years of age, but I like this guitar I'm playing. Didn't know at the time that it took good grades, but I kind of figured it out. I was doing college prep work, so I could, study art, and all I did was draw somebody playing a guitar. So subconsciously, I'm training myself. I'm going to be getting a guitar, electric guitar, playing this guitar. Going to have an amplifier to go with it, and then I have an audience. So that means my parents are going to somehow magically get this instrument from this music store home into my hands. But at a young age, I had no idea that that's what I was actually preparing myself to receive this experience. And the cool thing about it is we do this all the time. New clothes, new car, better house, better apartment. You want a better career, so you get tired of doing a 9 to 5, so you start creating a career for yourself. We do it all the time. We start to allow ourselves to have what we call a breakthrough. And one of the most important things is you have to set the standard for yourself. That's important. You don't let anybody else set the standard for you because naysayers don't set standards. You know what they set for you. They don't want to see you be successful. They want you down off the ladder. They want you down here with them where they're struggling. But you don't have to listen to the naysayer. You don't have to go by someone else's experience. There are many people, I'm quite sure, that have told many of you, whether you're here on Instagram or over here on my program today, Thursday afternoon program. Many people have told you at one time or another that the idea that you keep talking about around them may not work for you. Many people in the past 30 or 40 years have grown up in households where someone says, well, I want to be a doctor. And then some relative or some neighbor tells them, ain't nobody in your family's ever been a doctor. How are you going to be a doctor? And if they catch that person in the right moment who said that, who spoke those words, that they want to be a doctor, but they may not know how to get there other than just going to school or having the money to go to school. But that person that sees that person wanting that so much play on their intelligence. Or nobody in your family's ever done that. Nobody in my family's ever been a successful musician or artist. You need to go back to, being a concrete worker, work in a steel factory. That's not going to ever happen. Work in a coal mine. Why would you want that? Your grandparents were coal miners. Your great grandparent was. Why would you want something so flowery to attain? But here we are 50, 60 years forward, and people have attained that. People have learned how to work with technology and computers and broadcasting, communication. They've taken their artwork to a whole nother side, just not drawing or painting, not just painting with oils, but painting with acrylics, painting with some other medium. So, what has transpired all of those 50 years is someone decided I'm going to do something different and I'm going to be happy doing it. But you had to make yourself happy in the moment. If you can make yourself happy in the moment, then hey, you're always going to be happy. Because once you do it one time, you have now the courage to do it again, plus the experience to do it again. Plus, you developed a willful mindset to do it again. And you just continue in that process over and over and over until you have what? Absolute success in everything that you do. Why? Because you know your own mindset. All these great metaphysical teachers, past and present, say the same thing. You have to develop a consciousness for it. You have to be consciously aware that what you're wanting to do is to become ecstatically excited, happy, just totally happy. And all you see is yourself being happy. You even hear yourself repeat words that make you happy. So you want to be able to explore things and find different ways to become happy. But you have to be happy within yourself. That's where it starts. It has to be with you first. If you ain't doing the dance with yourself, let me correct my English. If you're not doing the dance with yourself about being happy, then it's hard for someone else to convince you to become happy. If you don't know inside yourself that all I want is just happiness, and that happiness is tied to other things, like maybe you make more money to be happier, to do the things you want to do, to travel, to have more art supplies, have more musical instruments, go see friends, have a computer, and perhaps a brand new computer. Who knows? But you know. And here's the thing that many people have said, because you want to be happy. And you want to be happy doing a certain thing that makes you enjoy the happiness. Some people would always say, well, once you know what it is that you want to do, and you might have certain people around you who aren't on that plateau like that. So you have to watch what you say, how you describe this quest for happiness. You have to pay attention to how you describe it in words and image. All of it is energy. But you have to keep in mind, like, who's around. Should you share that happiness, that glow with other people? Well, here's the thing. If you got a lot of people around you who are the naysayers, then you can't share it with the naysayer. The people that are always putting you down all the time, that are telling you all about limitations and involved in limiting yourself. You cannot share that. Carib Jazz. Let me wave back to you. How you doing? So you have to start paying attention to what makes you happy and what you do to make yourself happy. You got to do that. And you got to tell yourself that it's possible for you to be ecstatically happy. It's possible for you to attract situations, people into your life, opportunities into your life that are part of the happiness. Because you see happiness even in those items, in those things that you are creating, that you willfully intended for yourself. When you willfully intend something, you know it's going to happen. You don't have to think about it anymore. You know it's going to materialize into your life and you are going to experience it no matter what. So if you want happiness, you must create the feeling. James Brown would say that I got the feeling. Baby, 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 I got the feeling. You don't know how much it means to me. He used to sing that in one of his lines. Many people find ways to bring that happiness to themselves. Do you know that chefs and cooks, when they're very happy, their best meal shows up on the table. If you go into a place, and I don't care if it was a wealthy establishment or, as they say, the greasy spoon establishment, you want to go into a place where you feel the joy, you feel the love, you feel the people coming there. They're curious because they can smell the flavors in the air. You want to be in a place where people recognize you. People understand, and if they don't know you, they know there's something about you that's bringing them light, energy, and happiness and joy into that place because you are exuding that joy and happiness. And when you can be the one that can exude it first, where you are swimming in happiness and joy, where you just laughing all the time, when you can be the person who does that and you show up like that, your laughter will be contagious. You can be in a place where nobody has a smile. I've done it as an experiment. Now, it depends on what kind of place it is, too. You go into a place where people are solemn and they look like they don't want to be there, this may not work unless you are very strong at doing it. And that means you got to come into a place where you look people in the eyes and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Some people don't like to look people in the eyes. And maybe that doesn't mean that they are shy or anything. They just don't want that eye to eye contact. But there are others who enjoy it, especially a person that works in an establishment like a restaurant or a cafe. They got to look people in the eye. They have to show up chippy, happy. They've got to put that energy out. When everybody has that energy, they're on the same page with that energy. Anybody coming into that environment can be what influenced by that same energy. Where they said, "Man, it feels great in here. I don't know what's going on with this place, but every time I go here, I just feel relaxed. I feel calm. I feel centered. I feel grounded, and I feel happy. I like coming here. Why? Because everybody in that establishment that's working in there, they're what? They're putting out that energy. They are being happy. And that's essential to one's well being. If you could bring that energy of happiness, even when you're home, bring that energy of happiness when you're home. Everybody else in the home is going to be happy. Everybody. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Thank you for people here on Instagram. I'm going to sign off really soon on Instagram. I should be back here January the 2nd of 2025 here for Resident Essentials YouTube channel. If you, those of you who are on Instagram, I try to show up at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 2 p.m. Central in the USA, 3 p.m. Eastern in the USA, and 12 p.m. In Pacific Standard Time here in the USA. Usually it's a 30-minute program, but as you can see, I'm quite winded. I talk a lot. I'd like to thank everybody that appeared here. So let me thank all of you. If I could scroll back here, I'd like to thank Meiji Stokes, 83. Thank you for joining me. Deborah R. Dot 564. Thank you. Javita 9. Who else is here? Also, the mental lifestyle. Thank you so much for joining me today. And Carib Jazz 55. Thank you for joining me. And I know there's more people in there. I'd also like to thank everybody here on the YouTube channel: Holly Hammett, Kathy Pacheco, Barbara Ewing, Indigo Moon. I know that Julie's in there. I also know that maybe Jackie's in there. I also know that Melanie's in there. And if not there now, she will pop in later. She's from Australia. And so I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you had a good time today. Remember, create your happiness. It starts in your heart. Create your happiness. Live it through your mind, intended to be through your eyes. Create a visualization. Now, before I jump off, I said earlier I was going to create a meditation, a creative password meditation. So, all you have to do in Instagram land, YouTube land, this is all you need to do. I want you to start relaxing and calming yourself down by breathing. Inhale through the nose. Don't hold the breath at the top of the inhalation. Just relax your lungs, drop your shoulders down or back a little bit, and just roll the breath out through your mouth. Inhale again. Let it out through your mouth. One more time. Inhale again. And let it out through your mouth. Bring your eyelids a little closer together. They don't have to be wide open. But what I want you to do is shift the rhythm of breathing through your nasal passage. So inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. And the thing is, the slower you can do it, the better for yourself. But also at the same time, don't rush. You want to take your time and you want to enjoy the breathing process. Now, as you do this, go within yourself through the heart. The heart is the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. But you want to become heart centered, where unconditional love, compassion, understanding, and divine grace is expressed. And what I want you to do is use your memory bank. Go into the subconscious in there and start looking for elements, images, sights, sounds, smells that create happiness for you. And while you're doing this, at some point, the subconscious self, you, will kick out a file, a visual file, or a sound bite file, or a file that you could feel something. And this element, this experience called happiness, will create a tingling wave of energy throughout your body. And the more that you allow yourself to relax into this beautiful feeling, this beautiful sensation, know that you can create and recreate whenever you want to. Now, this time, mentally say to yourself, I am happiness. I am peace. I am harmony. So, mentally state it as you inhale it, and when you exhale, verbally state it. I am peace. I am harmony. I am happiness. And inhale those words. Inhale the energy back into your body that you are peace, harmony, and happiness. And all you have to do beyond that is expect to be peace, harmony, and happiness. Just project those words. Peace. Get the feeling of peace. Harmony. What does harmony feel like to you? Happiness. What does the body feel? Can you feel that on the emotional level? Because once you can feel it emotionally, you'll feel it all the time. You'll know how your body responds to the feeling of happiness. You will know how your body responds to the feeling of peace. and harmony. See, all of those come together and create unity within your framework. Remember, late Reverend Ike would say, let the feeling get the blessing, and happiness is an inside job. Success is an inside job. Joy is an inside job. You're hosting a beautiful day. Well, take care, everybody. Enjoy your life. Be more of who you need to be. Let your higher self come inside and express itself to the world. Shine your light bright. And I'm going to say goodbye. But I'll see you next year. If you need to email me at iam.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace with the number one at the end at gmail.com. If you got a question, comment, talk about your experiences of today, but just be happy with yourself, have more peace with yourself, and spread it to the world, but give it to yourself first. All right, everybody, take care. I'm out of here. All right. I'm off Instagram. I'm leaving YouTube on the 31st. I'm leaving not YouTube, but TikTok. I'm getting away from TikTok because of all the negativity that's popping up there. So now I'm here. I want, if you have any comments you want to make, anybody, before we sign off, I want to thank Holly Hammett, Kathy Pacheco, Barbara Ewing, Indigo Moon, Melanie Hall, Jackie, Fillmore Antoine, Julie Tyndall, that may have been here today, Lauren White, who may have gotten a chance to hear this, uh, Saramaya Evelyn Woods may have had a chance or an opportunity to be here. How do you call in happiness during grief? Well, first, you got to allow yourself to go through the feeling or sensation of grief because you can't mix the two. It's like oil and water, they don't mix, right? But when you're going through grief, understand why you might be going through that moment of grief in your life. And then, after you make enough associations with the feeling or sensation of grief, then what you should do, and here's where meditation works, is you encapsulate that feeling of grief. After you understand why you are grieving, what are you grieving about, whom are you grieving about? Once you can feel that, you also can say to yourself that the feeling of grief will not overwhelm me. It is an experience that I'm having because I am in human form walking around on earth, but I do not have to let grief consume me. Now, there's two ways it can consume your time, it can consume your mind, it can consume your emotions. And the one place you don't want grief to settle into is your physical body because then aches and pains and everything else appear. But sometimes to grieve grief is important to because you got to get it out of your system. You have to go through. You have to uh, figure out why you're having grief on that level. Let's say you may have been hurt and it created trauma in your system. Well, your muscles engage in that. They hold on to that. They capture that energy. So it's okay. You got to realize that it's okay to grieve. That's one step. It is okay to have grief, to experience. But at some point, you're not going to become overwhelmed by the grief. And That's easy to say. I mean, my mother passed away. I was like literally grieving for 11 years. Didn't even realize it, that's how long I was grieving. But what you have to come to the realization is that your presence in that person's life did not create the the situation where grief is. Your presence. You may have had a small part, but not a huge part. Because some people have huge egos. If the grief involves people with huge, big egos, you're not going to win. But what you have to do is you have to say, okay, I've done the best that I could do. I've claimed my portion. Therefore, I've done the best that I can do. And now I can choose to let go. Because letting go is a choice. Once you understand that letting go of grief is a choice, just like creating happiness is a choice, creating peace in your life is a choice, having more harmony in your life is a choice, interacting with people who still hold on to the grief, that's a choice. That's a decision that you made. And people say, well, I didn't make a decision. Well, you may not be aware that you made the decision. We all go through situations where we are totally unaware that we have made a decision to be in a state of grief for a long period of time. Sometimes people have been in grief for such long periods of time where they fall into negative behavioral patterns and negative things that they do, such as drinking and getting high. Then they become addicted to drinking and getting high. And we know drinking and getting high only gives what? Temporary relief. But once all of that wears off, then right behind all of that, the smoke screen is grief still sitting there. So we have to do something where we can change that. And we have to change how we're going to respond to grief and find out, is this something that we need to carry for a long period of time? If it's a loved one that you're grieving for, then you might have to start to look at, well, what things were they doing in your life that may have created such grief? But once you figure that out, then you could let it go. You don't have to hold it anymore. You don't have to constantly think about it all the time. Here's the other part. Was there any good points of knowing that person? And if you can honestly come to feeling it that there are some good points about that person that I could, say that was good for them to be that way, do that way, act that way positively with me in communication and interaction, then you can say, okay, that person is not that bad. But at the same time, you're not going to repeat the same processes, the same steps. Because sometimes the grief might be there for something that could have been nipped in the bud very early on in a relationship between people, in a setting that you're around others. So it's all in understanding who you are and where you are in the moment of time when you're having grief in your life. And you have to pat yourself on the back. And like one of the statements here in Reverend Ike's book, you got to love yourself correctly. If you can love yourself more than ever before, then you're gonna erase out of your system 80%, 90% of the weight. Because you're not gonna hold on, excuse me, you're not gonna hold on to it anymore. And that's important. You have to start looking at some things that you might be holding on to that might be a subcategory to the grief itself. Maybe it's not the grief itself. Maybe it's the subcategory. And sometimes when you can locate the subcategory, then you can understand it. Sometimes our grief involves more than one person. It might be other people connected to yourself or to that person where grief is still sitting there. You may have healed yourself from grief, But others who are attached to you and the other person, if it's a person involved, they are holding on to grief as well. So there's always a way of healing, creating wholeness for oneself. We just have to recognize that we have the capacity within ourselves to do such, to do the right thing for ourselves. And once we do that, we set ourselves free. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you had a great time yesterday. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, have a great time here. And this goes on what for a 7 day stretch. If you don't do Kwanzaa, however you celebrate life, celebrate it. However you choose to celebrate the people in your life, celebrate them. That's important. And above all else, celebrate yourself. Always remember where you are within the situation. If you didn't create the kind of grief that you're feeling, then it may be more like it's just the level of things that may have passed. Sometimes things that pass by us that we don't get a chance to say verbally or demonstrate, where can show respect or unconditional love or greater understanding, then sometimes those things happen. If things like that happen abruptly, somewhere down the line, your soul and that person's soul came to that agreement. You just don't have the awareness of the date when something would happen like this. But all you can do is, I've actually done all that I can do and the best that I could do in that situation. Then you have to be ready to release that. And you can simply train yourself to release it. You can get a pencil that represents the situation and the event itself. And the minute you let it go and you hear it hit the floor or hit the table, that's it. It's done. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to um, you don't have to explain to other people why you were going through the grief or holding on to whatever ups and downs were in a situation with another person. That's what's important. And here's the other thing. When that soul leaves that body and it goes to the other side, they're revamping and reviewing their life with you and everybody else. And at some point, they will come to a full understanding in the light, in the clouds of the light. They will understand a further understanding of why things didn't flow like they should have flown, where they were in this world with you anyway. So that's my thought on that. May you be blessed and have a pleasant day today. Hey, is any dessert left? Enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and enjoy. I made something in the crock pot the other day for Christmas for myself, so I'm going to go and enjoy that. Take care. I love you all unconditionally. And until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we're alive and well in the age of remembrance. And I should be on next Thursday, January the 2nd, same time. I will also have lined up a workshop for that evening, first Thursday night workshop. And I'm also creating these videos and things that I'm going to be doing soon. So, free videos, and I'll put them on my website. Everybody, have a good time, pleasant weekend. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy where you need to enjoy. And if you need sleep, get it. Take care. Bye now.